change to everything and absolutely anything. But with that being said, the most obvious question would be is, how's this all to begin? And yeah, with it starting as such, it's all obviously being answered as such. So of course, this is all to be a free exploration into a matter or issue concerning that of life, and that a few notes have also been made to briefly explore this expansive issue concerning that of life. And yet, this is also to be a continued feature which is also freely exploring the kingdom of heaven, as with creatively producing the kingdom of heaven within this physical state, whereby this then would be directing this towards the following biblical scripture from the last gospel of Thomas, which comes to state, Jesus saw some babies nursing. He said to his disciples, these nursing babies are like those who enter the Father's kingdom. They said to him, then shall we enter the Father's kingdom as babies? Jesus said to them, when you make the two into one, and when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and when you make male and female into a single one, that the male will not be male, nor the female be female, when you make the eyes an eye, a hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you will enter the Father's kingdom. Now, to freely explore this biblical scripture, it's then to reflect upon the first paragraph, which comes to state, Jesus saw some babies nursing. He said to his disciples, these nursing babies are like those who enter the Father's kingdom. They said to him, then shall we enter the Father's kingdom as babies? Now, it's easy to notice that upon reflecting upon the physical state of a baby, it's easy to notice that the physical state of a baby has come to exist within a state of innocence. Thus, it's also due to this state of innocence that the physical state of a baby has seemingly come to release or free itself from the distinguishing state which is to be associated or connected to the egotistical perspective state of thought consciousness. Thus, it's through this notion that the physical state of a baby is then to be more associated with the known sensational vibrational energy of emotional love, whereby then clearly indicating that as the baby is to physically explore this physical state of emotional existence, it is through using the non-sensational vibrational energy of emotional love that the physical state of a baby has seemingly come to constantly and continuously physically meditate within this physical state of an emotional existence. And yet, the physical state of a baby is also easily able to be more associated with another natural state of meditation, whereby this other natural meditative state is then easily able to be directed towards that of lucid dreaming, which we come to explore and experience through that of sleeping. Again, easily to notice how babies have come to sleep so many times during a course of a day. Now, if we were to more openly explore the innocence of children, it's again easily to notice that as a child has come to express themselves, emotionally express themselves, in regardless of the amount of words, manner or way, right? If it were to be directed towards a certain matter, issue or situation, so to speak, that they have come to emotionally express themselves within a known sensational state of emotional truth, and that as they have come to emotionally express themselves with other children, once again, easily to notice that the child has seemingly come to release itself or free itself from the distinguishing state which is to be associated or connected to the egotistical perspective state of thought consciousness, which again is distinguishing what should be said, what shouldn't be said. Oh, this word was said correctly. Oh, this word was said correctly or incorrectly. It's again just coming to learn and then using the non-sensational vibrational energy of emotional love to sensationally attract this infinite amount of questionable knowledge into a one singular state of emotional understanding, so that the one singular state of the emotional awareness, of which again is the one singular state of the emotional spirit, is then able to emotionally know how to creatively produce a meaningful state, a truthful, meaningful state, through using the one singular state of emotional truth that is to be sensationally acknowledged within this infinite amount of questionable knowledge. So, then to direct this towards the second paragraph, which comes to state, they said to him, then shall, Jesus said to them, when you make the two into one, to just briefly explore this, when you make the two into one, when you make the mind and the heart into one, which is clearly then being directed to the one singular state of the emotional awareness, which again is the one singular state of the emotional spirit. Thus, it is to then naturally exist as a true state of emotional self within this physical state. But this is also easily able to be directed towards knowledge, being knowledge and emotion, coming into a state of oneness. Now, this state of oneness is then easily able to be directed towards the state of meditation, whereby again it's to sensationally attract an infinite amount of questionable knowledge into a one singular state of emotional clarity, so that the one singular state of the emotional awareness is then able to sensationally acknowledge a one singular state of emotional truth within this infinite amount of known knowledge. Again, this is a one singular state of emotional clarity, and that it is through sensationally acknowledging this one singular state of emotional truth within this infinite amount of known knowledge, it is then to emotionally know how to creatively produce the truthful, meaningful state. Again, this truthful, meaningful state is not only the imaginative state, but if it is also coming to release or free the imaginative state into the physical state, so that it too can also be explored and experienced within this physical state. And when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, now to just briefly explore this, this is again clearly being directed towards our one singular state of the emotional awareness, which is again the one singular state of the emotional spirit. So again, as it comes to state, the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner. So we are to exist within this physical state as the natural state of the emotional self, as we are to, how could you say, exist within the imaginative state as the one singular state of the emotional spirit. And the upper like the lower, again, as the heavenly state is of course the imaginative state. So again, the upper like the lower within the physical state. And when you make male and female into a single one, so that the male will not be male, nor the female be female. Again, this is easily able to be directed towards the state of children. Again, the state of children have come to release themselves or free themselves from the distinguishing state that has come to distinguish a state of difference between sexes, whereby in this it's clearly then indicating that it is to, how could you say, communicate, socialize without this distinguishing state, that we are all equal, not only in the heavenly state, which is again the imaginative state, but also within this physical state. When you make the eyes an eye, now again, we have come to explore this physical state with the two eyes, which again are to be associated or connected to that of the egotistical perspective state of thought consciousness, and that we have come to explore the heavenly state, thus the imaginative state, through using the third eye. Again, it has been distinguished as the third eye, but if we have come to spiritually exist before we have come to physically exist, the third eye is then the first eye. So in this notion, if we were to release ourselves or free ourselves from the distinguishing state, what is left is the intuitive state, the emotional intuitive state. Now this then would also be directed towards the state of the third eye. So it's understanding that the intuitive state is coming to measure the non-sensational vibrational energy of emotional love that has come to exist not only within emotional beings, but within the infinite amount of questionable knowledge that has been shared within this physical state. So again, as an individual, as to share knowledge, it is not distinguishing an emotional truth or an emotional deceit within this infinite amount of questionable knowledge, whereby it's then using pre-existing knowledge to distinguish this. Again, we have come to release ourselves from the distinguishing state, freeing ourselves from the distinguishing state. Thus, it is coming to learn this infinite amount of questionable knowledge, right? And then again, using the non-sensational vibrational energy of emotional love to measure the amount of love that has come to exist within this knowledge. Thus, the intuitive state is easily able to be associated with the physical state. A hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot. This state of equality, thus removing ourselves or freeing ourselves from the distinguishing state that has come to distinguish its state of difference between race, culture, language, color, and so forth. Thus, we are to exist within a state of equality, whereby within this, if we were to explore this again, and when you make male and female into a single one, that the male will not be male, nor the female be female. And then it comes also to state, a hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot. Again, the state of equality. The state of equality is existing within both of these sentences, if you want to call it that. An image in place of an image. An image in place of an image. Again, the first image that we want to easily equally realize and recognize is the physical state, which again we are to explore through the two eyes, which again are to be associated or connected to that of the egotistical perspective state of thought consciousness. And then we are to explore the heavenly state, thus the imaginative state, through that of the third eye, which is again to be associated with the one singular state of the emotional awareness. Now, if it were to physically exist through using the intuitive state, thus the emotional intuitive state, it is then to see the positive, the love, the love, another side to the knowledge, another side to an individual, thus another side, a positive side, if you want, a loving side, if you want to call it, and then you will enter the Father's kingdom. Then it's to direct this towards the following biblical scripture, which comes to from Ephesians 4 verse 1 to 7, which comes to state, I urge you then, I, who am a prisoner because I serve the Lord, live a life that measures up to the standard God set when He called to you. Be always humble and gentle and patient. Now, to just briefly explore this quickly, be always humble, gentle, and patient. Now, if we were to associate this with the 7 virtues of life, which again are to be associated or connected to the 7 chakras, which again are the 7 churches, it's then humility is associated with the crown chakra, right? Gentle, patient. Patience is to be associated with the sacral chakra. Temperance and patience is to be associated with the sacral chakra. Show your love by being tolerant with one another. Thus, patience again, and thus it's also being directed towards that of kindness. Thus, through that of the third eye, which again is to be associated or connected to not only our one singular state of the emotional awareness, but if it's to physically exist as the one singular state of the emotional awareness, it's then to physically exist as our true natural state of emotional self. Do your best to preserve this to preserve the unity. Now in this, humility, kindness, patience and temperance is able to preserve the unity, right? It is able to exist between other existing beings. which the Spirit gives by means of peace that binds you together, okay? Which the Spirit gives by means of this peace that binds you together. Which the Spirit gives by the means of peace that binds you together. The bond is obviously to be that of love, right? The bond is obviously to be that of love, right? Peace is only able to exist through that of truth. So, again, the one singular state of the emotional awareness is to be sensationally connected or associated with each other through the bond of love. There is one body and one spirit. Again, the state of equality. Just as there is one hope to which God has called you. Hope. What is hope? High on positive energy. Being high on positive energy. High on positive energy. Positive energy, the non-sensational vibrational energy of emotional love, which again is to be sensationally associated or connected to the one singular state of the emotional awareness, thus clearly then indicating that it is through the Spirit, right? Just as there is one hope to which God has called to you, it is through the Spirit that the unity is able to exist, and that the betterment of life is able to exist, and that truth is able to exist. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism. There is one Lord. So regardless of cultural belief, religious belief, there is one divine source of I am, one faith. Belief is to believe in this divine source of I am. It's to believe in the truth. It's to believe in the love. Thus, you have to believe before you can see it, right? One baptism. A baptism is easily able to be described as that of an awakening. Now, an awakening, the grand awakening, is obviously to be the pure state of enlightenment, right? Yet, an awakening is also able to be directed towards awakening to be able to be exploring the one singular state of the emotional imagination, thus the one singular state of the emotional clarity. Thus, this is able to be described as an awakening. There is one awakening, and that if it is to awaken within this physical state, it's seeing another side to this physical state. Thus, it's seeing paradise, heavenly state within this physical state, a truthful state within this physical state. There is one God and Father of all mankind. Again, clearly indicating that there is one divine source of I am that has come to create all existing life. Who is Lord of all, works through all, and is in all. Who works through all and is in all. Is in all is clearly being directed towards that of the one singular state of the emotional consciousness as the state of pure emotion. And yet, if we have come to be creatively produced through that of divine intelligence, it is also through the one singular state of the emotional awareness, thus through the one singular state of the emotional spirit, existing as a state of divine intelligence, that the divine source of I am has also come to exist within, right? Works through all. Now, this is easily able to be directed towards the 7 virtues of life for the betterment of life. Again, associating the crown with the state of humility, third eye with kindness, the throat with forgiveness, the heart with diligence or passion, the solar plexus with charity, the sacral with temperance or patience, the root with chastity, right? Who works through all. It is through these 7 virtues of life that the divine source of I am has come to work through us. Each one of us has received a special gift in proportion to what Christ has been given. I'm going to say that again. Each one of us have received a special gift in proportion to what Christ has been given. Christ again means awakened one. Awakened one is to again be associating us with the one singular state of the emotional awareness, the one singular state of the emotional spirit. Thus, the awakened one is the true natural state of the emotional self within this physical state, right? Each one has been given a special gift. To discover this special gift, each one of us have come to know about the special gift that have come to exist within us. But if it were to associate these special gifts with the 7 virtues of life, right, is then again crown is to be associated with the state of humility. And then in this humility, if we had to think that children have to humble themselves to learn, right, and to sensationally attract this infinite amount of questionable knowledge into a one singular state of emotional understanding, so that a one singular state of emotional truth is then able to be sensationally acknowledged. Again, the state of learning is easily able to be directed towards the state of humility. And yet, to learn is to know, right? Thus, Buddha even came to state that wisdom is through that of knowledge, right? So, it's to know, to emotionally know, right? Thus, to emotionally know is then to emotionally know how to creatively produce a meaningful state through using this one singular state of emotional truth. Thus, then being directed towards the state of a teacher, which again, teachers, to be a good teacher, you have to humble yourself as a child to get into the mind of a child and into the belief of a child, right? So, crown is easily able to be directed towards being that of a learner and that of a teacher. The third eye, being associated with the state of kindness. Kindness, to be supportive. Kindness is a loving notion. So again, kindness is to be supportive. But in kindness, we also have to understand that in kindness, we are also able to creatively produce a truthful, meaningful state. So in kindness, it's not only to be a supporter, but it's also to be a creator, thus coming to associate the third arm with that of a supporter and a creator. The throat, again, the state of forgiveness, to release is to heal. To heal is obviously to be directed towards that of being a healer. So of course the throat is then to be that of a healer. The heart, state of passion, diligence, to motivate. Come on, you can do this. To inspire, you can do this. So again, being directed towards being that of a motivator or inspirer, if you had to say that. So again, the heart is to be associated with the notion of being a motivator or an inspirer. The solar plexus, the state of charity. Now, charity is not only able to be directed towards giving food, clothing, beverages, housing, land, whatever. It's not only able to be directed towards, but it's also able to be directed towards giving time and effort. And in this notion, it is then becoming a volunteer. So again, the solar plexus is then to be associated with the notion of being a volunteer within this physical state. The sacral is to be associated with temperance and patience. To be patient and to be temperate, right? To coordinate things in life. You have to be patient to coordinate, to, how could you say, let's say now 10 people are given a puzzle to build. There's going to be that one individual that's going to be standing there and saying, okay, it has to be put like that. It's coordinated. So again, the sacral is to be associated with being that of a coordinator. chastity. Chastity is to be associated with the root chakra. Now, chastity is easily able to be described or directed towards that of being a state of stability. State of stability is easily able to be directed towards the state of survival. So again, the root chakra is then to be associated with being that of a survivor within this physical state. Then it comes to state. Each one of us have received a special gift in proportion to what Christ has been given. Right? Each one has been given. So it's also coming to equally understand that. I mean, even if we were to be a volunteer, to be a good volunteer, you would have to come to associate yourself with the state of humility, associate yourself with the state of kindness, associate yourself with the state of forgiveness, associate yourself with the state of passion and diligence, to associate yourself with the state of temperance and patience, to associate yourself of being a survivor. I mean, this is just one aspect. I mean, to be a volunteer is also to involve the 6 other virtues of life, right? So, then it's directing this towards the following biblical scripture, which comes to state from John 14, verse 1 to 4, which comes to state, "Do not be worried and upset," Jesus told them. "Believe in God and also believe in me. There are many rooms in my Father's house, and I'm going to prepare a place for you. I would not tell you this if it were not so. And after I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to myself so that you will be where I am. You know the way that leads to the place where I am going." Now, and God is not only able to be described as that of love, but is also able to be described as that of life. Thus then clearly indicating that Jesus is then also easily able to be described as that of truth. So, to re-explore this biblical scripture within that context, right? Do not be worried and upset, truth told them. Believe in life and also believe in truth. There are many rooms in life's house, and truth is going to prepare a place for you. I would not tell you this if it weren't so. And after I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to truth, so that you will be where truth is. You know the way that leads to the place where I am going. I'm going to say that again. Do not be worried and upset, truth told them. Believe in life and also believe in truth. There are many rooms in life's house, and truth is going to prepare a place for you. Truth would not tell you this if it were not so. And after truth goes there and prepares a place for you, truth will come back and take you to truth, so that you will be where truth is. You know the way that leads to the place where I am going. Now, again, this is easily able to be directed towards, coming to acknowledge the one singular state of emotional truth that is able to guide us. God, that is able to guide us within this physical state towards a one singular state of emotional truth within this physical state, right? It is not life. Well, technically it is life. It is life that is able to guide us. But it is the truth within life that has truly come to guide us to the one singular state of emotional truth that is to physically exist within this physical state. Thus, there are many rooms in my Father's house. Each one of us have come to exist with the one singular state of the emotional consciousness. Thus, this is the creative state of the one singular state of the emotional imagination. Thus, the one singular state of the emotional clarity. Thus, the heavenly state. We are all to explore and experience our own heavenly states, yet directing this towards that within this physical state. Again, our own heavenly states, our own truthful, actual paradise within this physical state is also able to come to be explored and experienced within our own ways and within our own natural state of truthful emotional selves, if you had to say it in that way. I mean, this is our own state of emotional paradise within this physical state. Yet, as we are able to explore through the one singular state of the emotional imagination, right, we are also able to, how could you say, sensationally encounter your ancestors, so to speak. Let's say now your grandmother passed away, let's say your grandfather passed away, let's say your friend passed away, let's say your girlfriend passed away, let's say anybody passed away. We are able to encounter these individuals within the one singular state of the emotional imagination. Yet, this is not only limiting individuals to past life. We are also able to encounter individuals within this present state through the one singular state of the emotional imagination as well, whereby clearly indicating that even though it's to explore and experience our own heavenly state, thus our own state of emotional paradise within ourselves, we are still able to share this exploration and experience with other one singular state of emotional spirits within this physical state, right? Whereby this then is obviously then being directed towards, the mere fact is that we are also able to emotionally share a state of emotional paradise with other individuals within this physical state of emotional existence. Thus, in this being shared, it's to sensationally acknowledge that a one singular state of emotional truth would also come to exist within this state of paradise, within this physical state, and that this state of truth is not only to be directed towards that of peace, love, happiness, but it is most importantly to be directed towards the existing state of unity within this physical state. So, with that being said, this of course will be a continued feature. So, with that being said, may the lovers keep on loving and the haters keep on hating, and with that being with an equal understanding, let this just all absorb. Namaste.